My name is Aubrey. I work for a nonprofit providing service dogs free of charge to people with physical disabilities. I like Progress Texas because it brings together like-minded people moving forward all of the initiatives that we want in Texas. It's just a really good group of folks that are contributing to a better Texas.
It's Thursday, March 20th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Continuing this Thursday to follow the case of Houston area midwife Maria Margarita Rojas and two of her employees, the first people arrested for allegedly providing abortion care in Texas following the fall of Roe and the imposing of one of the nation's harshest bans on the procedure here in our state. KHOU TV in Houston explores the timeline that led up to these arrests. An anonymous tip back in January started a state investigation of the three clinics operated by Rojas in Spring, Cypress, and Waller, all near Houston. Investigators talked to a woman they had seen visiting one of the clinics. Investigators say this woman told them that Rojas had been identified to her as a gynecologist, which she is not. Rojas is not a doctor, but a midwife. And that Rojas had determined that her 4-week pregnancy was very unlikely to succeed and had prescribed her the abortion drug misoprostol. This investigation took place over the span of about a month before the three arrests were made earlier this week. It's important for those of us who see this situation as concerning to be cautious in our consideration. In any case, a health practitioner misleading a patient about their qualifications and expertise is clearly a bad thing and a crime. And if that's happened here, it's not something to defend. As far as the state laws that set the stage for this situation, one might say that even if we don't agree with those laws, and when we're considering the current legal state of reproductive freedom in Texas, we certainly do not agree with those laws, but the law is still the law. And the law is what we're opposing here, not an individual case of someone breaking that law, if that indeed happened in this case. It just so happens that there's an opportunity right at this moment, a bipartisan opportunity, which is rare in Texas, to reduce the harmful impacts of those ham-fisted and medically ignorant restrictions on basic health care for women. At the very least, to finally establish legal elbow room for health care providers, so that the fear of prosecution under those laws no longer forces them into a situation where the well-being of their patients is compromised. As things stand today, Taylor Goldenstein at the Houston Chronicle writes that two identical Republican-filed bills at the Lege, House Bill 44 and Senate Bill 31, would clarify the definition of medical emergency in the law and make it consistent across Texas's different legal codes. Clarity that doctors are not compelled to withhold, alter, or delay the treatment in critical situations, and also directs the Texas Medical Board and the Texas State Bar to develop training courses for doctors and attorneys on Texas's abortion law and the particulars of its emergency exceptions. The House bill is being carried by longtime Representative Charlie Guerin of Northwest Tarrant County, a Republican, mind you, who says of HB 44, quote, "Too many women have suffered. Too many have died. If one has died, it's too many. I have friends whose wives can no longer conceive because of the problems they went through with their first pregnancy and the delay their doctors faced in addressing the problems. In my 24 years here, this is the most important bill I have ever carried," unquote. And Guerin's fellow Republican Senator Brian Hughes of East Texas, carrying the companion Senate Bill 31, is a bit more buttoned down, but he says, quote, "In most cases, doctors and hospitals are following the law. I have read about cases where that's not happening. This bill is to further clarify the law and remove any excuse in a case like that," unquote. This bill could end up accomplishing what Amanda Zarowski, Kate Cox, and their fellow plaintiffs tried to do in the courts last year, and all of this is certainly worth following. Even with some positive news, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Plenty of more questionable stuff cooking at the Capitol right now, including the Senate's advancing yesterday of what Republicans are calling the toughest THC ban in the nation. Karen Brooks Harper at the Dallas Morning News says Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has warned retailers dealing in THC products to shut down post-haste as the Senate approved SB 3 on a 24-7 vote yesterday. Several Democrats voting in favor, including Cesar Blanco, Roland Gutierrez, Boris Miles, and Royce West. This goes to the House now, where it's all but certain to pass. The end result, y'all, pot remains illegal in Texas. Again, if we're looking to do real legal battle here, that's the actual target. We told you last week about House Bill 42, a bill largely put together by big corporate landlords looking to make it easier for them to kick their tenants to the curb. Doing solid work in advocating against this further curtailing of renters' rights has been Dallas attorney Stuart Campbell and his colleagues at the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center. Stuart tells us that additional bills have been filed in the House and Senate that would allow a landlord to kick a tenant out of their home while an appeal against an eviction proceeding is happening. These are the identical Senate Bill 1904 and House Bill 4554. We're posting more on both of those in the show notes this morning. And still more punching down by wealthy Republican lawmakers against regular working class Texans. There's also House Bill 139, which is courtesy of Longview Republican Representative Jay Dean, which would allow employers in Texas to offer health care packages to their employees that don't include state-mandated services like cancer screenings, childhood vaccines, coverage for kids, the basic stuff. These packages have a snappy name, too. The bill calls them Employer Choice of Benefits Plans. In other words, your boss decides what parts of your health care are important and which are not. Catherine McLean, spokesperson of the Texas Coalition for Patients, told the Austin American-Statesman that this bill would, quote, allow insurers to offer plans that fail to meet basic expectations that most Texas patients have, unquote. If you've had the experience of having to fight with your insurance company about whether or not they'll pay for a prescription or a procedure, this new law would make that fight a lot harder for a lot of working Texans. So much to follow and to oppose at the Lege. We do this full time, and frankly, it's a struggle for us to keep up too. But knowing about this stuff is only the first part of the fight. We've arrived at a moment where it's more important than ever for our elected representatives to know that we're watching what they're doing, regardless of party. If any of the stuff we're talking about this morning fires you up, we encourage you to take a moment to call your elected officials and express your opinion. This takes just a few minutes, and gotta say, it feels pretty good too. March is Women's History Month, and Progress Texas Advocacy Associate Tatum Owens has put together a great rundown in celebration of the enormous breakthroughs that Texas women have accomplished, as well as an analysis of why, as we've been talking about this morning, Texas remains among the worst U.S. states in which to live for women, plus a full list of Women's History Month events happening across the state. See that list at progresstexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily ongoing basis, please know that our regular everyday listeners form a key component of our funding. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Huge thanks to Michelle Mapes, Robert Clifford, and Francis Ferguson, all of whom are on the team. We thank all of y'all very much. And our friends down in San Antonio. Progress Texas is Alamo City bound for the first time in a while for a live podcast taping and fun fundraising party on Tuesday, May the 6th. We look forward to a long overdue get-together with y'all down in San Antonio at our Party for Progress. Mark that date, Tuesday, May the 6th, and keep it here for more details. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, May 20th, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.